This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. She's not a psychic medium, but I do believe that she knows what many of us are thinking about. Where am I going with that? Well, let's say you've got a little bit of burnout. Let's say you're at a crossroad in your life. Let's say you lack confidence. Admit it, you do. We all do in some shape and regard. And she helps people with those transitions, have those realities. She is a lot of things, a life coach. She's also an author. She's the woman behind the sock draw philosophy, which we're going to dig into at some point very soon. And it's great to have her here. Lisa Begley is on the program. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Steve. I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. And
Awesome.
I love your energy. It's like the sun came out as soon as we got down here.
Thank you so much. The great introduction. I love it.
Heartfelt. I don't even know the direction to go in here, but your story I find is impactful, and all stories are. There's a takeaway from everybody. We learn something. Normally, I wait before we go into somebody's story, but I want to go there right now. Like let's let your journey, share your journey. Yeah. There were crossroads there, as I understand.
So many.
There's different directions.
So many.
Yeah. Please share with us.
Yeah. You know, I can sum it up in one sentence. 48 years of a career path. If we're talking just professional, I have a whole relationship story as well. But
I forget about that. There's always different categories for our stories.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, gosh, we're all on a journey in every aspect of our life. And, I think 48 years professional career, 28 different positions, 28 different job titles.
Like seriously, legit?
Oh yeah, for sure. So, and my choice most of the time. Have I been let go? For sure. There's been times throughout, whether it was laid off or, it just wasn't a good fit anymore. Most of the time I made the decision to pivot and do something else. And there's something within me that always drove me to say, I've completed my mission here. It's probably God-led, if I could be honest, and you need to pivot to something else, right? And most of that came with learning and being a kind of a lifelong consummate learner. Like, I love learning new things and moving on to something else. So it, started at 14, and here I am today, finally kind of in a forced retirement situation, but am grateful to be here. And I wouldn't have been able to do the things I've done in the past few months without it. So
lots of questions. Questions.
Yeah, let's go.
Do you feel that one of the strong parts of our lives is knowing when it's time to go? Or like a comedian, don't beat the joke up, know when it's over, and now move on. And it sounds like you identified a little bit of that, where, all right, you were in a certain position, doesn't matter how it ended, whether they ended it or you ended it, but knowing when it's time to go. Do you think that's important to have that
100%.
That clarity?
100%. Absolutely. I think I didn't always know that. And I, just recently had that same experience. But, I think it's important to know that, and to know when you've exhausted everything you can give to that particular position or career or whatever it is. We usually have, in my, experience, we usually have something internal that's pushing us, something that's driving us, speaking to us. There's something telling us we're not supposed to be there. And I think that's been the biggest challenge for me, and I'm sure for many people. I don't know about you, Steve, but is just listening to that inside voice and saying, it's telling you, you got your conscience, whatever you want to call it, right? Something saying it's time. And sometimes we listen, sometimes we don't.
I believe in my journey, figured this out so far. We don't listen because it's scary. What's the one thing that we're always trying to protect ourselves? Fear. It's safe to continue in a situation because there's the fear of change, the fear of the unknown. So even though, call it your intuition, it's saying, time to make a change there. You know this isn't right. Many of us don't act on it because of that the fear factor.
That is so true. That's a number of time over the years, and I know it happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Because what's next? Whether you're, 28 and looking at a career change, or you're 68 and looking at a career change, it doesn't matter. Just the fear of what is next. And some people are really good at having a plan all laid out. They've paved the way. They know exactly where they're going. I don't think that's the norm. I think that tends to be, unique in its own right. But I think that, just where do I go next and how do I get there? And, today's society has changed a lot of that for us. It's not as easy to go get a job, to easily just apply and get an interview. And, with all the technology changes, you name it, it's all different. So.
Have you been in situations where the fear factor was there, can't make a change, I don't know why, and have you gotten to a point where you have this mindset, well, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Maybe you didn't think that back in the day, but now do you look at it many times that way where, all right, got to make a change here, but I can do whatever I want, pretty much. You have maybe the confidence, you built up the resilience, that feeling. Have you had that feeling where anything is possible?
Absolutely. I've always been, I guess, a risk taker. So I will jump a lot of times, probably before I should have jumped.
You know what? You're not normal, but what's normal? But that's not the average person. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think many times I just jumped, and I knew, between my faith and my belief, and I just knew it would all work out, and I would make it to the next step, whatever that was, right? But obviously you don't ever get there if you don't take the next step. And getting rid of, like, to your point, Steve, the fear, that's a hard thing to do. That's just not easy, and overcoming, because what's driving the fear is different for everybody. Where that fear comes from could have come from years of something. It could have come from something happened a long time ago. It could have come from, who knows, right? But I think that, whatever it is, you have to address that first to figure out what's holding you back. And a lot of times too, it's a scale, right? It's like, how important is it? How much do I want it? How badly do I want this to make that jump? And sometimes there's that risk management piece of it that you have to walk through as well. So it's different for everybody.
How many 28 positions?
Can I tell you, I used to be so embarrassed about that. I used to just want to crawl in a hole, and I would literally take my resume and I would minimize it. I would minimize myself and the resume in order to hopefully get the job, right, that I was going for, that I really wanted next, or whatever it was. I would make myself smaller. And this is not a recommendation. I would make myself smaller because I was so embarrassed about that. It used to be years ago, the ideal 60s, 70s, was to get a job and be in it for 30, 40 years, to get your pension and get your 401k.
And you got to get the gold watch. You got to get the gold watch.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so that wasn't the norm, in the days that I was going from job to job, and I averaged it out. It's like 18 months on average at any job. It was like, yikes,
I want to be honest with you. Back then,
please.
that was viewed kind of as a negative. Hopping from job to job. I now, on a journey, looking at it differently. You've amassed so much experience, background, knowledge, by changing, being able to pivot here and there, and the know when it's time to go. Back in the day, I've been doing radio all my life, by the way. I still do it. I've been doing it since I was a kid. First paycheck. Not even kidding. I knew what I wanted to do when I was 9 years old. This was it. And I
Wow.
stayed at a job, and it was only my second job. And the first one was maybe 4 months. And then I got a job at the big station. I stayed there for 26 years, and
Oh,
things were changing there. It was very successful. Had a co-host. She left to do something else. We were really great together. Hired some other people for that show. And the station was going in a different direction. We're kind of going a little rude and crude, and that's not my
mm,
thing. And they offered me a job in another state nearby. It was kind of a parallel move, and they weren't saying it's time to go. I wasn't saying it was time to go. It just seemed that things were a little bit off. And I
yeah,
explored other positions within the company and such, but I knew this wasn't working anymore. And it took quite a few months, had a kid on the way, got married like the year before. And after a lot of soul searching, I woke up on a Monday and I just said to myself, Wednesday's your last day. And I went in, gave my notice, and that was the end of it.
nice,
Um,
nice.
and fortunately, I had some severance to pilot, to figure out the next step. I didn't have resilience. I didn't have enough confidence back then. I wasn't you. I wasn't you.
Uh,
So I admire, the way that you can move and pivot. And even since then, I haven't been, I've there's only been one job where I quote unquote lost a job, and that, financially, they weren't doing great. It was a smaller company. Figure I'd try something different.
yeah.
But you look at what you've learned along the way. There's so much value in that.
Thanks.
You feel it?
Well, yeah, I do. I have a question for you. And just to pivot back to what you were saying about when you woke up Monday and you said, Wednesday is my last day.
Mhm.
How did that feel? Like how did that feel in the moment when you knew I finally made this decision?
I can think back to literally waking up. I'm in bed. I'm sitting up in bed. It felt comfortable and uncomfortable all at the same time.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what you mentioned before. I'm a big proponent of your intuition. I believe, the gut feeling. I believe
Yeah.
we're given this amazing superpower and we squash it down. We don't listen to it. And it was
Yeah.
talking to me. And I
Yeah.
wanted to ignore it. What was the uncomfortable? What am I going to do now? This is all I've ever done. And,
Yeah.
side note after that, I started applying for jobs outside of radio. I wanted to do something for the community. I wanted, just some community connection. Director
Yeah.
of External Affairs at a hospital, marketing in another facility, things like that. I was looking around for like 6 months, and somebody said, "Do you realize that you were doing that all along, like connecting with the community and helping people by being on the air?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, duh." So I got back into radio, and stayed ever since. But I needed
So
I needed
good.
that change to have those realizations, and along the way,
Yeah.
great. Opened up a marketing company. The year after I left, I'm still doing that to the day. And then other
Great.
things came about. If I stayed, what would it be like? I don't know, but it was time to go, and I knew it was time to go. But again, uncomfortable,
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, see, and that's what I was looking for. Like, there's just so much that comes from making that decision, even though it's so scary, and there's this big, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. It seems to be a trendy phrase right now, and it's true. I mean, it's just so true. And look what it did for you. And what I also, and this has helped me multiple times, is that when your perspective changes, like you went to look for other jobs thinking you weren't doing those things,
Sure.
you went out there and then you go, oh, wait a minute, I am doing this. That's my passion. That's what I want to do. And I was in the right place to begin with, maybe just in the wrong company, maybe just in the wrong
Yep.
whatever, right? So perspective is everything,
Well, back
when it
back to
comes to how you're
purpose.
looking at what you're doing.
That was the
Yeah,
wake up. Okay. It took me almost
yeah,
30 years to figure it out, but that is my purpose. So keep riding that purpose train to the ends, which is essentially what I'm
yes.
doing. Where was the moment where you realized that I got confidence, I can rely on me, I have resilience, in the beginning? Because I got to believe when you started making changes in the very beginning, it was uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. Well, yes. But so I was raised by my mom and my grandmother, and both single, independent, hardworking women. And so I think that influenced a lot of my, my mindset and my focus on being a career woman, if you will, right? Career woman.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think the moment for me, there wasn't just one moment. In fact, there were times when I always felt confident that to make a spin at any given time, at any given time. Like whether it was, and I don't know if it's because we moved a lot with my mom or, I don't know. I can't really pinpoint it, but I always had confidence. In fact, to a point where at some point, and I don't, let me just say this. I've always had confidence to make the next step, take the next step, jump out there, try it. So I was given a gift of, I call it a gift, risk taking. Some people wouldn't call it a gift, but
Mm.
I do. And for me, anyway, it's a gift. It's a gift that's my perception of it. So confidence has never been a question, although over the years, and I would be lying if I didn't say there's been ups and downs, especially when things happen to you, like you're let go or you're laid off or tragedy happens in your family or a trauma, you go through a trauma,
Yep.
your mindset, your shape is all affected in the way that you think about yourself. And imposter syndrome, holy moly, huge.
We do a whole
Um,
podcast on that alone.
uh, I'm,
I,
I'm in on that because it's a thing, and it's so real for people. And I think that, so there was never just one moment. I mean, I got my first job working at Bellflower Friendship Manor, which was a senior home at 14 years old. I had to go to work. I didn't have to. I wanted to go to work. At 14 years old, I got an early, in Southern Cal, you get an early permit. I don't know what it's like now, but you get an early permit and you can work
Mhm.
as long as your parents approve. So I did that for 4 days a week from 4 to 7 during the dinner hour, served coffee, cleaned up dishes, did all that.
Wow.
That was my first job. And so that's kind of my start, right? That's where it all started. And I was always confident enough to do that. It was the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And, the next thing I'm off and I'm doing this. I mean, the things I could tell, I was a school bus driver for 4 years. And then I worked at an airport locally. And then I moved into being an international flight attendant. And then I decided to, coach
Oh,
competitive cheer for 12 years. And then I worked for a cheerleading dance uniform. And then, it's just like one thing
that's
after
so
another.
cool. That is so cool. No, I'm serious. I feel like
Yeah, I
you're
mean, I like it, but
a cat with nine lives. Like it's onto, let's reincarnate, on to the next, on to the next.
that's exactly right.
You are the author of The Sock Draw Philosophy.
Yes,
What's the
sir.
book about?
Oh my gosh. It's a book about reinventing yourself. Just exactly what we're talking about.
Wow.
It's about letting go of what's holding you back, kind of what we've already been chatting about, and then being able to move on. What makes it kind of fun is the stories and just the alignment. It makes it a little different. I think what makes it unique as far as a self-help book goes, if you will, is that it uses the metaphors of cleaning out your sock drawer, right? And what a sock drawer looks like for everybody, right? You can have a completely perfection organized sock drawer, and you can have a big messy sock drawer. And it talks, we talk about just dumping out. It's fun, right? It's fun. It's an easy read, a light read, but it also gives you perspective on what could be holding you back, and it gives you a different way to think about it.
Hmm.
So it's fun. First
So
book. So excited.
I'm just going to look at the what could be the philosophy sock drawer. Now I know when I do laundry, I take two like socks and I put them together so that they're always together. Now, if you don't do that, nothing wrong with that, but you'll always have another sock. It may not be the same sock, but you'll always have another sock. There's a lot of deep stuff within this philosophy, when I start thinking about it, right?
Yeah, like the missing sock, right? Like we
Yeah.
all have that missing sock. Like where'd it go? Did the dryer eat it? Did the, well, what's missing in your life, right? That's the alignment. That's the metaphor. What's missing in your life, right? And does it really matter to get it back, or is it something in the universe, or God telling you to move forward? You know what I mean? What is it exactly? Or maybe it's the lint. I like one of my favorite. I like the part, the elastic, right? So we all have these socks with elastic, and it's funny. My husband told me a story about my brother-in-law when he was little. I didn't even know this story, but he used to call them quitter socks. If put the sock on and the elastic didn't stretch anymore and they just fell down to your ankles, he called them quitter socks because it didn't work for you anymore. So looking into what doesn't work for you anymore.
Can I change the language? Can I change the language on that?
Yeah, sure.
The sock with the elastic that's no good doesn't support anymore. It doesn't support you anymore because it keeps falling down. There's no support.
The lack of support.
Right. It doesn't support or it doesn't serve you. I made the bed on Monday, of course, did laundry. Yeah. And I, put the socks away, and it, like we're talking about here, one sock, which is rare, I guess I'm lucky, was missing. I'm like, hey, it'll turn up in the laundry, whatever. So I get down, fresh new sheets just laying there. It's so good. And I'm like, under one foot, I'm like, what is that? What is that? That's the sock. It's the sock. And I'm tired.
You found it.
And I'm laying in bed, and I'm thinking, well, I'll get that in the morning. Yeah. I couldn't do it. I had to turn the light on, get up. I first, did the top sheet thinking it's there. It's not there. I'm like, you blinking. So now I have the sheet tucked in. I had to lift it up and go underneath and find it. So I think the analogy here is if something is missing, you need to go find it. You can't just let it go because it's going to gnaw away at you. There's something missing within your life. Yes. Well, we can go on forever with the sock thing. Genius.
Can I just tell you? And then that takes us back to our early part of our conversation where, something is gnawing at you internally that says, something's missing here in your current situation. It's driving you to do something else. What is that? Maybe you're not sure yet. You're afraid to take the step, whatever, So you can, to your point, Steve, apply it to so much in life. It's just a fun way to do it.
Oh, yeah. And I think ultimately it comes back to one thing, the intuition, the gut feeling. Everything we need to know is within us, but we don't listen, or we don't have trust or faith in that message that's coming through. It's coming through for a reason, because it's you. Nobody knows you better than you. So you is telling you, hello, time to change, make a change over here. How do we connect with you, Lisa? What's the best way? And all different levels. I know obviously you are a coach. You've created a lot of stuff. You got a lot going on, the book as well. Best way to find you. How do we do that?
Sure. Come join us on the website, right? Just find us at justonebravestep.com. And you can reach out to us. There's some free resources and tools on there for you. Tells you a little bit about us and One Brave Step and what that's all about. So we'd love to, connect with you in that way.
You said that word, and I've never, in all of this, podcasts, life, journey, all of that, the word brave.
Oh.
You never hear it. We did talk about fear, fear of making change and all of that. Not the word brave. We need to be brave.
Yeah.
We need to be brave. And it's such when you think brave, you think of, healthcare worker, firefighter, that kind of thing. They are brave. But we need to take our lives with the same view. Be brave. It's not easy, but boy, what a feeling of pride when you are brave. And love the name of the website and what you do. Fantastic.
Just One Brave Step. That's all it takes, right? It's all it takes. You just have to figure out what it takes to get there, whatever that one small step is. And that's what I'm there for. If we're a fit and it makes sense and you need that help trying to navigate to get there, reach out.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here today. We got
Thank you.
Lots to talk about in the future. I appreciate it.
Yes, we do. I can't wait. Steve, thank you.
We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.